I don't care if they put me back in the dungeon, solitary confinement by myself for the rest of my human years. I would never kill myself, ever, ever. So if that ever happens, God forbid, do not believe whatever garbage they tell you. The chance of me killing myself is precisely zero. They have to damage my influence. They have to damage my influence. They can't sit there and let me be influential because I'm saying things that they don't like me saying. And there are people sitting around going, he's saying things counter to our message and counter to our narrative. Get rid of him. And they have a pretty standardized playbook. And this is probably one of the first times in history where their playbook just isn't working. Cancel him. He's still around. Oh, well, lie about him in the news. Just say he touches chicks. Well, no one believes it. Oh, all the comments are on his side. Everyone's calling us liars. Okay, then do it again. Then do it again. Make up a new girl. Then do it again. Find someone else. Yeah. And they keep attacking me with the same weapons, but the bullets are bouncing off. And that doesn't give me a sense of calm. That doesn't make me think, ha ha ha, I'm invincible. It makes me think, uh-oh. It makes me think, uh-oh, because human life is cheap at the top. It's very cheap. It's interesting because sometimes I analyze myself and think, why don't I just do that? Why don't I just disappear? You know, I don't need money. I don't need fame. Why don't I just disappear? And then you have to, I was saying this to my brother, and he was like, well, Genghis Khan didn't need Vienna. Some people are just wired that way. Like, Vienna's a long way from Kathmandu. Sometimes that's just the way it is, or Ulaanbaatar, I apologize, to the capital of Mongolia. That's just the way some people are. If I see injustice, and if I see things which I believe to be false, I feel like I am obligated to say the truth. I can't explain why, even if at my own detriment. What am I doing this for? Like, it's to the detriment of my life. And I've had these conversations at length with the people close to me, and we're all saying the same thing. It's always been the same way. Humanity's always been the same way. There's been a select, small, few good men up against evil, and evil always outnumbers you. Evil always has more money than you. They always have more power and more influence than you. If you play any video game, when you get to the end boss, he always has more life than you. He always has more hit points, but you're the good guy. And it's kind of like, it's never been any different. At any point in human history, there's been the good guys up against the forces of evil, whatever they were of the time, and you've always been outnumbered and you've always been supposed to lose. I think that truth is instilled by God in all of us, and I think if you tell the truth, you're a good person. Well, instead of saying who, I will say, what I will start by saying is what they do. And what they do is they control information. And we now live in an information society, and by controlling information, they control how people think and act and react to things. That's all they have to do. They have to control information, and they have to be very selective with what they allow you to talk about and what they allow you to discuss and what they don't. And once they can do that, they can keep you bickering about garbage, and they can control the sensitive information, and then they run the world. So having all the information controlled and having this hard barrier on what can be discussed, that's how they can purport absolute fallacies. I think now it's been a couple years, we can probably talk about it. They psyoped the world into believing they should be afraid of the common cold. They psyoped the world into this. And if you think about how difficult that would be to do, how difficult would it be to psyop the entire population of Earth? Well, what you do is you just lie on repeat, and you don't allow anyone to say anything counter to it without hurting them the same way I've been hurt. And you just psyop them. It's actually amazing because now I use that exact same psyop on people. I love it. I love it. So when I sit with someone who's not matrix-minded, when I sit with someone who is matrix-minded, like when the BBC walked in here, I'm like, do you all have your vaccinations? Social distancing.
Did you actually?
100%. Social distancing, please. And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, how am I crazy? 2 years ago, you were telling me to do this. Now when I repeat your own worldview to you, I'm crazy. Well, if I'm crazy, guess what? You're a fucking liar, because you lied the whole time. So either you're a liar or I'm not. You know, how could I be nuts? Put your fucking mask on. If I ever talk to any of these clowns again, they're going to be fully masked up. And I refuse. I don't care if you've had 2 booster jabs. No, I want all 6. All 6 injections. I want paperwork. Or get fucked.
Or you're not coming in the house.
Get fucked. I'm scared of COVID. It's dangerous. I believe the mainstream media. I'm scared. Yeah, a psyop is the matrix as a whole. It's like psychological operations are constant. They constantly decide how they want you to think and what they can do to make you believe that. Right? There's a whole bunch of them they do. But it starts with tolerance. That's what I don't like about this whole guise of tolerance. It's not that I'm an intolerant person. It's not that I'm a bad person. It's not that I want to hurt other people. But when they keep pushing tolerance, what they're trying to say is have no standards or barriers or parameters for anything. That's what they want. You have to be tolerant. Tolerant of what? Tolerant of having your shop set on fire. Tolerant of your kids being taught things you don't want. Tolerant of crime. Tolerant of your house being broken into. Like, tolerant of what? You're not allowed any hard barrier or any hard parameters as a man anymore. That's why they push tolerance. That's the beginning of it. That's the first stage. Once you accept absolute tolerance, well then it's the end, isn't it? I'm tolerant of everything. I'll eat the bugs. Sure.
You'll tolerate everything.
I'll tolerate everything. I'm tolerant. Sure. So when I say things like I'm intolerant to certain things and people think that's bad, no, you need to have standards and parameters. And that's one of the reasons they also attack me. I say that men should be allowed to have standards and parameters in a relationship and in their lives. We should be allowed to decide who we want to marry, and we should have standards for her. They have standards for us. We should allow ourselves to have standards for her. We should have standards in what we'll accept from a government and standards in what we'll accept from a police force. We should have standards as men. But they're trying to erode all of that, because once that's gone, then your brain is completely empty. And then once your brain's empty, they can just plug in the slave program, and then it's over, right? You're a tolerant person. You're a tolerant person. Good. You're a good slave. Slaves are exceptionally tolerant.
So the shirt you wear is what? Escape the slave mind?
Resist the slave mind.
Resist the slave mind. What does that mean exactly?
It's a better word, resist.
Resist.
Right? But I want to do this before we get into, because we got 5 hours, guys. We got plenty of time to get into a lot of different topics. So one, I do want to talk about BBC.
Yeah.
The handling of the interview, I want to get your thoughts on it. I know there's been reactions, but I want to go a little bit deeper into it, because I want to compare how your start with the interview with BBC started versus Philip Schofield versus Musk. I got all the first questions. We'll cover that.
Yeah.
I want to talk about media. I want to talk about your evolution of your faith, atheist, Christian, Muslim, and then some of the things that's going on with politics right now. You know, maybe a little bit of Romania, you know, Trump. We'll cover what you're talking about with different things. It's funny you're saying monopoly on power if you abuse it.
So I'll start by saying, and I have to make this clear, that the staff in the jail were exceptionally nice to me. They were very apologetic. The vibe was apologetic. Nobody was really treating me like a criminal. There were a few guys who were icy cold, I guess you could call them. They like to think of themselves as professional, but they were just inhuman. But over time, they warmed up, and I was exceptionally nice also to all the staff. Jail was terrible. I'm going to start by saying jail was terrible, and I was miserable inside of the jail cell. It's a good thing depression isn't real, because I would have been depressed. But I think in life that you get what you give, and I wanted to feel happier, so I tried my very best to make people happy. So when the old lady would bring me my food, I would sit and say, oh, this is the best food I've ever had. I've never had food this good. Did you cook this? I thought yesterday was the best, but you managed to surpass it again. How'd you do it? What's the magic ingredient? And I ended up making friends with them. Like I had grandmas in there, the old ladies cooking the food. And by trying to make people happy and smile all the time, I started to feel a lot happier. But it's kind of scary, and I think the scariest thing about jail was the uncertainty of it all. If they would have said to me, you're in jail for 92 days, or even 5 years, you got 5 years, cool, I do my time. But when you're nabbed and thrown in a cell without charge, you're like, well, how long, is this my life? Is this it now? Is this the end of the story? I'm just in this cell. And I was picked up on 29th of December. I went through this quick court case. Like I said, I'm inside of the jurisdiction of Romania, so I have to be very careful with what I say because the case is ongoing and we're in Romania and I can't leave Romania. But obviously Romanian court is in Romanian by law. So you're marched into this room, everyone speaks a language you don't understand for 15 minutes, and then you're marched off to jail. You're like, what even happened? What even happened to me? And they said, oh, here's the paper that explains it. I was like, that's in Romanian. And they said, oh, don't worry, you'll get a translation to English by law. I was like, okay, that's fine. But because I was picked up on the 29th of December and there was New Year's Eve and holidays, it was 2 weeks before I even knew why I was in jail. 2 solid weeks I'm in jail. No one told me in English why I'm in jail. I had no idea what the charge.
Can they do that?
By law, you get it on the piece of paper in English, but it's translation, it's holiday, we need to find a translator, there's a delay, 0. So they said, oh yeah, human trafficking. I'm like, what do you mean human trafficking? Who? When? What? What is this? Took 2 weeks before I finally got a piece of paper, and then I realized what garbage it truly was. I mean, I knew it was garbage, but I was like, this is complete garbage.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have endless stories from jail. It was certainly, I don't think jail teaches you much new. What it does is confirm everything you already know. It confirms everything you know about the reality of the outside world, that you need to be physically strong so that you're not attacked by others, and mentally strong so you're not attacked by yourself. You learn who's on your side and who isn't. You learn who's a coward and who's not. You learn who's an opportunist and who isn't. Your circle, you certainly learn a lot about the people around you when you go to a jail cell, that's for sure. But I remember it was New Year's Eve. When I was first picked up on the 29th of December, I was very sure I'd be out in 24 hours. So there's no way they're going to keep me. For what? Like this doesn't make sense. So finally New Year's Eve rolls around, And I'm sitting in the jail cell by myself. And in Romanian jail, you don't leave the room. It's not like an American jail where there's a yard or anything. You're stuck in the room. It's 3x4, and that's your existence. You just stay there. At the beginning, I was by myself. And you're stuck in this room, and I'm sitting there. It's New Year's Eve, and there's a very faint speaker, maybe way down the hallway. The guards must have been having a little party for New Year's Eve. And there's this awful song. It's called the Ketchup song. I don't know if you know what it is. I don't want to sing it, but it goes, hey, hey,
of course.
That super annoying song. And I'm sitting there, and I know it's New Year's Eve because the fireworks start going off. And I'm looking out my tiny window, and I can just hear in the very long distance from the end of the hallway, hey, hey. And I'm sitting there looking out the window like, this can't be it. This can't be the end of my life. Even the cockroaches all over the walls didn't celebrate. There was maybe 15 cockroaches on the walls, right? And when it struck 12 and the fireworks went off, I kind of like, well, who's my friends in here? The cockroaches. I looked at them, even they didn't move. It's like, well, that's New Year's. It's funny because before that, a couple days before that, me and Tristan were discussing, do we want to do New Year's in Dubai? Do we want to go Courchevel? Shall we go Miami? We're all arguing, oh, that will be boring. That's too far. We had all these grandeur plans. Oh, finally we decided to go to Dubai. We were in Czech Republic at the time, and we decided to go to Dubai, and I said, let's stop in Romania so I can repack a suitcase. So jet left Prague, landed in Romania. My jet was still on the runway. Came here overnight to pack a suitcase, spent the night, spoke to Greta with a pizza box, and it's 5 a.m. they got me. I don't think she specifically said that.
Of course.
But there are certainly people within the Matrix machine that you can't attack without catching flack for. There's certainly protected people. It's absolutely and utterly a club, and you're either in the club or you're outside of the club. She's certainly in the club, right? So if you say certain things about certain people, or you get a beef with X amount of people, or you discredit a certain person, they're going to try very hard to teach you a lesson for doing that. And you can see very clearly who's in the club and who isn't by the Philip Schofield situation. This is a man who has groomed boys and had sex with them, but he's in the club. All of the media headlines after 2 days are, let's have compassion, feel sorry for him, his mother's upset. They've attacked me for 14 months, day after day after day, and they relentlessly attack me. Nobody talks about my mental health. Nobody gives a shit how I feel. I didn't do any of the things he did. He's actually done things. I haven't done anything. But when you're in the club, you're protected by the media. When you're not in the club, you're attacked by the media. And that's how it simply works. You're either on our side or you're not. But to join their side, you have to sell your soul. Your sanity has a price. Your sanity is for sale. You have to sell it. You have to come along with your sanity, take out your mind and say, here you go. Take my sanity. I'll take 35 million. Yes, that is a woman. Yes, protect me. It's insane. And the reason these people join these clubs is because they know they're doing bad things and they feel that they need protection. The reason I stand up and argue against all this shit is because I know I don't have skeletons in my closet. You think I'd be on the internet talking like I talk and fighting the Matrix if I had skeletons in my closet, if I was actually a bad person? I've been investigated as deeply as a person can be investigated by multiple federal agencies for 14 months. I was locked in a jail cell, and 2,000 people I know was called. My barber, my old housekeeper from when I lived in England 9 years ago, my gardener I used to have in another country I lived in. Everybody was called. And people were offered bribes effectively. The media are calling girls saying, if you have a bad story to tell about Andrew, we can pay you $30,000 if you have a bad story. That's a bribe. That's a bribe. And they still couldn't find anyone. Still, I've been investigated to a deeper level than 99.9% of people you'll cross on the street. And they're saying I'm guilty and I'm a bad person? You go get 20 men off the street and put them through what I've been through. You'll find more crimes than you've ever found with me. Absolute clown world. It's insane. And if I was part of the club, none of this would be happening. The media would be on my side. They wouldn't be hitting me this hard. They wouldn't be lying about me. All I had to do was sell my soul and sell my sanity, and I refused. And they're trying to punish me for it. That's what's happening. He was a TV presenter in England. He was very famous. He ran the morning show. And he was grooming children for a very long time, and all the staff knew about it, and the people who worked on the show with them were being groomed by him, and everybody knew, and it was all a big ha-ha-ha joke. Philip is part of the club, and I'm not. And this is the thing. I'm a mentally resilient person, right? 14 months they've attacked me. I'm not going to sit and complain about that, because that's not how I operate as a man. 14 months they've complained about me. If you type Romania, human trafficking, you type in any of these things, my name comes up, my face, I'm a bad person. I've lost all my bank accounts. I've lost all my social media accounts. I've been vilified all across the matrix in every single possible way. They print my face every single day with something negative next to it daily. Nobody gives a shit about my mental health, right? Because I'm the enemy. And what's scary about this is Lucy Williamson herself, she was begging me for an interview. The BBC were begging me for an interview. I don't need any of these people. The only reason I even sat down with the BBC is because they were begging me. I can go and just say my own words and get plenty of views, right? But the whole time I was in jail, they're begging me for an interview. Can we speak to him on the phone? Maybe we can give an interview from jail. Can we have an interview? Please, 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 please. And I was saying, why do I want to talk to the BBC? And the BBC were saying, no, we don't want to do a hit piece. We want to come across and we want to be impartial.
This is what they're telling me.
This is what they're telling me. We want to be impartial. We believe there's a side of the story that hasn't been told. We're really interested in some of the, let's say, what's the word? I don't want to get this wrong. Inconsistencies in the Romanian justice system. We're very interested in his side of the story. There's been enough hit pieces. We want to tell the other side. We want to hear Andrew Tate's story. And I said no, on repeat. Then they sent me a list of questions. I didn't even ask for a list of questions. That's not who I am. I don't have to script. I never ask for a list of questions. They sent me a list of questions. Here's what we're going to ask. It's about his mental health. It's about the Romanian justice system. It's about the fact he hasn't been charged. His liberty's been deprived. All this stuff. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. Maybe it's a bit interesting. And the Matrix is obviously printing lies about me. And these are some interesting questions from the Matrix for the first time ever. Okay. They walk in here all smiles and happy, all smiley faces, trying to take me off guard. I already had my list of questions, right? It's all going to be nice and easy. I sit down, and they instantly attack me. They put the cameras on first, and they attack me, expecting me to stutter and make a fool of myself. It's kind of like they tried to sucker punch me. I'm in the club, and they're my friends shaking my hand, and they tried to hit me and knock me out. And this is the thing that's so amazing about it. Yes, I destroyed the BBC, but of course I did, because I'm smarter than all of them. But why should I have to rely on my wit and intellect to destroy BBC with their research team and their plan? Their deliberate plan to try and annihilate not only my credibility, but my life. They are trying to put me back in jail, these people. They're not dishonest. They're genuinely evil, and they don't give a shit. And so why should I even sit there and entertain them? I believe I could slip every single sucker punch they throw at me for the rest of human time. I could sit with any of these clowns, and no matter who they sit with their research team, whatever garbage they come up with, I'll make a fool of all of them. But why am I even entertaining them anymore? What's the point? That was the last chance I gave mainstream media. They lied for months to get that interview with me. Completely dishonest, head to toe. And like you said, they sit with Philip. Are you okay? Are you okay? We heard your mom's upset, that poor old lady. Maybe everyone should stop talking about it because his mom's upset. Let's not talk about it anymore because his mother's old. You're either part of the club or you're not. You have to sell your sanity nowadays. If you sell your sanity, you're afforded protections. That's the reality of it, because if you're a sane thinking person, you don't buy their bullshit. And that's what upsets them. They don't want anybody who thinks for themselves. They need you to they want you to believe exactly what's on the television screen. Believe in COVID. It's COVID now. It's COVID now. Oh, Putin's invaded Ukraine. Putin's cured COVID now. Now it's Ukraine. It's insane. Till the next thing comes. It's absolutely asinine. This is what's so interesting about it. These people are so detached from reality, because they are genuinely detached from reality. They think that finding a video I made 8 years ago, a 4-hour speech I made 8 years ago, and finding one line of it without context that can be misconstrued, they think that sitting down with me and saying that to me is an aha moment. Nobody cares, because you're taking it out of context, one. And I said you're taking things out of context. She goes, I'm not taking it out of context. I said, if you're presenting it without context, that's taking it out of context. That's what it is. You're lying by omission. I said that to her after the camera's off, and she looked at me because she didn't understand. When you omit details, when you refuse to put in all of the details, you can lie by including one detail which may happen to be true. You can tell the truth and miss all the details around the truth, and you are lying by omission. You're lying by omission. And you're sitting here saying, oh, you said this 8 years ago. Nobody cares, because they know me, and they know I didn't mean it in that way, and they know it's taken out of context, and they know that it's an old video on the internet, and it's not even an aha moment they think it is. But they just want to sit with you for an hour, attack you and attack you and attack you, wait for you to make one mistake. If I would have stuttered or made a single mistake, that's the only 3 minutes they would have shown. That's all they want. They want that 1 hour, then they take the little bit. With me, they cut it down to 12 minutes, and they look terrible in all of it. But if I would have made a single mistake, it would have been the only bit they shown. That's all they care about. Fake news.
Did you tell them, did you say, I'm only doing this if I'm able to record as well?
I said that.
Because I know that's what happened with Trump as well a couple years ago.
I didn't even tell them, I just recorded it.
Okay, so they didn't know you were recording.
They didn't know I was recording until afterwards, and then I said, that was dishonest, I'm going to release the whole video. Once again, I have to be careful what I say because of the court case, but Romania has a law, or the law in Romania is basically, if you can prove to a judge that it might have happened, they're allowed to hold you up to 6 months during the investigation stage. If I was guilty of anything, I would have been charged long ago. And we're going to talk about charges soon, because I still believe they're going to attempt to charge me. But we're now approaching the end of the 6 months they can keep me under a form of arrest for without charge. Typically in Romania, when I was first arrested, the guard said, within 2 weeks, you'll have your indictment. I was like, 2 weeks? He goes, yeah, everyone gets charged quickly. Nobody waits 6 months for a charge. If they arrest you, they charge you, like every other country, right? The fact they've waited 6 months and gone into my entire life and attempted to find something shows they don't have a case. Why I believe it happened is because they didn't have a case when they were trying to hit me with this garbage, and they thought, you know what? If we put him all over the news, if we slander his name completely, there was a hotline set up. If you're a girl who's been hurt by Andrew Tate, call this number in the UK. A hotline. So they were attempting to use the media to find what they wanted. Months go by, months go by, months go by, case file's empty, nothing's happening. My lawyer's saying, when are we gonna close this case file? Like, yeah, we're just waiting for some papers, we're gonna close it, we're gonna close it, we're gonna close it. Around the time I was canceled, things started appearing in the case file. They started spying on me again. Very interesting that it happened around that time. I don't know if they understood that I wasn't protected by the political class of the USA. I don't know what happened. They started to build this case, and they spied on me for all of these months, spending millions of euros, spying on me everywhere I went, trying to find evidence of a crime. Eventually, they get to the end of their legal limit to spy on me, and they don't have any crime. They don't have anything. So in my current court case, we have 2 Americans who lied, the ones who we have the conversations between them saying they're going to get an Oscar for lying to the police. We have the CCTV of them coming and going. We have their Uber records showing they can travel the country freely. We have their phone calls with their mother where they're saying, yeah, he didn't hurt me, and my boyfriend caught me. We have all of it. We have all the evidence. We have those 2, and then there's nobody else who could possibly even take the stand. I don't believe, as high level as this Matrix attack is, I still don't believe a Romanian judge is going to put me in jail with the dossiers. I've seen it. It's garbage. I don't think I'm going to end up in jail. But it's just taking years of my life, damaging my influence, having bad things to say about me, keeping me under control, keeping me locked in a house. That's all they want to do. They have no interest in the truth. There's no victims. There's no one to take the stand.
Do you know who Sophie is or Alice is or no?
Yeah, so the BBC,
Ali?
That's really interesting. So then the BBC says, well, we found victims, because the BBC have done enough investigative journalism to understand that the case is garbage and there's no victims. So they said, well, we found victims. They found one called Sophie first. That was a few months ago. I think I was still in jail when Sophie appeared.
Is that her real name?
No, that's her fake name. So they have a girl with a fake name called Sophie. They don't show her face. They ask me, what do you think about Sophie? How can I comment on Sophie when Sophie isn't real? Firstly, you've made her up. Secondly, I don't know who you're talking about. You're saying that 9 years ago, I was emotionally controlling? That is the most subjective garbage accusation. What does that mean? 9 years ago I said you shouldn't party with those guys in the club. Is that what I said? I don't know what I said. I don't know who she is, if she exists at all. And they're saying 9 years ago you were emotionally controlling. Sophie said so. Who's Sophie? We're not telling you. What's emotionally controlling mean? We're not telling you. What comment do you want me to? If this person even exists, which they don't, then I destroy the BBC, make it very clear to them that Sophie doesn't exist, on repeat, because she doesn't. And 2 days later, Alice appears. What's interesting about this is that DCAUT, the federal agency inside of Romania, along with help from international partners, have tried so hard, spending millions of euros with federal level tools to find a victim so they can put me in jail. And they can't find anyone. But the BBC just pulls them out whenever they want. The BBC does. Where do these people come from? And I say this every single time. If anybody believes they've been wronged, male or female, by me, go to the police. Go to the police. I encourage you to go to the police. All these people say, we don't want to go to the police. We just want to stay on the news. What, is that because you're not real? Is that why? That's pretty convenient. I mean, I thought I was a bad person. Why don't you go to the cops? Oh, because you have no evidence and it doesn't exist? That's why.
Are all these accusers in the UK, not even in Romania?
Not even in Romania. So Sophie and Alice are supposedly both from the UK. And Alice's story is...
To correct, it's not Alice. I said Alice, it's Evie. Evie or Evie or something like that. Evie.
And this is the thing that's scary. If you say to any red-blooded male, 13 years ago you had sex with a woman consensually and she's now unhappy about how that sex happened. You can get... Any man on earth can get screwed with that. If this person exists at all. And like you said, she refused to go to the police if she exists. And she's saying it was consensual. I think last night they aired it on Newsnight, and they said, why are you coming forward now? And I think this actor, the person literally said, because now he's rich and famous. They literally said those words. That's what they said. Oh, because now he's rich and famous, I think it's unfair. It's asinine. I don't understand genuinely how a man can protect himself in the Western world anymore. How can you even exist anymore?